We all know the power of crowdfunding is unmeasurable. Successful examples like Oculus, Pebble, or Fitbit, etc. They are very known. They are and a very well-known crowdfunding platform, flyingV, launched in early 2012 and has become one of the largest crowdfunding platforms in Asia. So today, we are honored to have Mr. Cheng, the CEO of flyingV, to share his point of view on what you really need to know about crowdfunding. Let's welcome Mr. Cheng on stage.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cheng, and I'm representing flyingV today at InnoVEX. And I think the topic of crowdfunding has been discussed over the past maybe 2 or 3 years. I don't believe that there is a sure way to guarantee success, but I hope today, in my 30 minutes, to share some of the mindset that I think is important when starting your own campaign. First of all, it goes back to why we decided to do crowdfunding in Taiwan, even though people think it's a relatively small market. But I believe a crowdfunding platform requires first demand and diversity in creativity, which Taiwan has it all. But over the past 4 years, one of our core values, pretty much the most important core value, is to have no limitations on topics. Even if people think they're politically sensitive or all of that. It doesn't matter if it's a startup, it's something as small as just going on a trip yourself. We believe that creativity shouldn't have any limitations. And the picture you see here is a hotel that we renovated, that we demo some of the ideas and projects, and where we host a lot of events. Some basic figures: we've been around for 4 years. We've had close to 1,700 campaigns and about 340 million raised. Of all these topics, ones that are interesting are every year before we start, we never know what the highest funded campaign will be the next year. And it's usually something really, really unexpected. In 2012, the highest funded campaign on our platform is a watch. Not a smartwatch, a regular watch. The next year, 2013, the highest funded campaign was a fun run event. In 2014, it's a social innovation campaign. And last year, the highest funded campaign was a traditional Chinese font that raised over 20 million NT. So it's quite interesting. And we don't know what's going to be it this year, but that's what's so fun about crowdfunding. The first question people always ask, I'm going to talk about something pretty basic here. It's usually people I meet will ask this question: is what I do suitable for crowdfunding? Which is kind of a general question, but I think what isn't suitable for crowdfunding? I just shared one of our core values is have no limitations on topic. So as of now, I can't think of any industry or anything that isn't suited, unless it's illegal. But farming, agriculture, even just wanting to create an app, everything's worth a shot. And over the past few years, we've had hundreds of products, services, documentaries, independent bands, social innovation. Two of our creators have even gone on to be elected public officials, including our mayor, Dr. Ko of Taipei, and rock star turned legislator Freddie Lim was also one of our creators. We've had quite a little bit of presence in Taiwan in the past 4 years. I think before anything, the concept of crowdfunding isn't new. And I don't believe it's revolutionary in any way. It's like anything else. Concept isn't new, but the tools are new. With internet and social media, you're able to reach a wider audience before you start. That's all it is. And we shouldn't be held back by what we think the tools are. We should use it to our advantage. So the first question I think we have to ask ourselves is, what do I expect to gain from it? I think that's the first question you have to ask before you do anything. But in a crowdfunding campaign, people always think about money. But the money raised isn't profit. The money raised is more of a scorecard, in my opinion, because you still have to deliver your goods. It's more of a practice than anything else. So your expectation should be just that, and what it means to you if you successfully fund it, what it means to you in your long-term goal and the grand scheme of things. It shouldn't be, I really want to do a crowdfunding campaign because I'm going to make some money. It doesn't work that way. And I don't know if this is a typical thing, but I get asked this a lot. How do I run a successful crowdfunding campaign? Or is there a magic formula? I've noticed that certain types of projects get a lot more funding. No, there really isn't. There's a lot of tips that you could do. There's a lot of tools you could do. There's a lot of ways you could be prepared fully for a crowdfunding campaign that raised your percentage of success. But there's no magic formula. So what my staff does, we do it a little differently in Taiwan. Every project creator, we have a staff member, a project manager that helps you out along the way. And every tool is on our work. We host a lot of workshops. We have online material. All these are tools. How do I make an attractive video? How do I design my project where it makes sense and all that? But all these are tools and basic functions that, it's like going to war. We can only tell you what weapons you should bring to the war. So even if you fail to raise the fund for any reason, you would know exactly why and come back again strong. There is no magic formula. And like I said, what if I fail to raise the fund? People always concentrate on, well, if I successfully raise a lot of money, I could do this and that. Well, not really. I believe that you're doing all this. You're doing all this to raise your profile, maybe get some money, get some funding, cover some costs, but basically you just have more chips to do whatever you want later. Collecting chips is the key. It isn't a guaranteed road to success. It doesn't mean that your product will be a major success. It's just you have more chips at your disposal. But what if we fail? And I think this is a major key, in my own opinion, for crowdfunding. What if you fail? So what? If you go fully prepared and I didn't raise the funds that I require, I could just start over. Start over from what? Through running the campaign, you have experience in your material, you have feedback from your backers, you have data analysis from while you're running the campaign. It's pretty much like a free market test. So it doesn't matter if you fail. That's the whole point of the platform. Where are the backers? Well, I believe backers are interesting. Backers aren't customers, they're not clients, but they're not donors either. It's kind of a hybrid. Why do people back a project? Why do they pay for something that hasn't been made yet? Well, I think it's a mix of, I really want the reward, I believe what you're doing, I believe you can actually do it, and you probably have to be, you probably have to look trustworthy too in your video. It's a really mixed bag. And that's the whole point of the platform, is to test. You have ideas, you have ways that you think should be the way it should be, but then this is the test. So on our platform, if you want to break it down by age or gender, most of our backers are between the ages of 24 to 38. And a little more female backers than male backers. And usually you could tell by the way people pay online too. Two of the major payments here in Taiwan especially, credit card of course take up maybe 80%. But if you guys have walked around and noticed that our convenience stores, the density of our convenience stores is quite high. And who pays with the convenience store? Students without credit cards, or people that are slightly older and don't want to give out their credit card information online. And so a lot of this data is quite interesting, but in terms of platform users, it's really a mixed bag. And yeah, there is a title, funding goal, video, content, rewards, but really it's all the same thing. If you want to have a product, you have to have a brand name, you have to have pricing, you have to calculate cost, you have a to-market strategy, you have the delivery strategy. So it's basically just a small product cycle, if you will. You're going to have to do it anyways. It's just crowdfunding is a stage and a tool that you could use. And some people have asked, there's a lot of platforms in the world, and a lot of people have asked, why do we need a video? Why is a video necessary? Well, I believe if you can't even make a 90-minute video, or 90-second video, rather, how are we going to believe that you're going to do what you're going to do? You know, the threshold or the requirements for making a video is as low as ever. We can make a video with our phones, but and the crowdfunding video doesn't have to be high in production value. Rather, if your crowdfunding video is too high in production value, people will be skeptical. Like, wow, you sure spent a lot of money on your video. You don't need any money. Why should I back you? Sometimes it backfires, but everything, your plan, your rewards, it's all part of one single story, and this is where it's interesting. And the key is all this video calculating cost, reward, is basically like setting up a shop. So you set up a shop, it's all decorated and nice, but it doesn't really matter if nobody knows where it is. And crowdfunding is the same. Setting it all up is basically step one. The marketing and the promotions where it's very interesting. And there are a lot of online marketing tools available, but my key here is crowdfunding is rather pretty localized. So don't give up on the offline stuff you have to do. You have launch parties, you have demos, you have backer gatherings. All these things, everything you do offline could be transferred online. What's the point of a website? Is to host content, share content, and to pay. It doesn't replace anything you do offline. So online, offline, it should work for each other. And all these events that you host or host with flyingV, all this content to be shared online also. So I think that's rather important. And also, of course, there are a lot of tools online on the platform where you have updates, you share your material, you have every action will be shared with other flyingV users. So my main point is don't be locked into functions of the platform. The functions of the platform are things you should use, but don't give up on the other traditional marketing efforts. And again, I mentioned this before, like my favorite creators are where I see they successfully fund a project, they deliver their product, they host events and all that, but all their content is reusable in their marketing efforts in the future. There is a creator that it's a bicycle, and after they successfully fund, when they're delivering, they ask for permission and they film all the deliveries, the way they how to set up your bike and all that, and all this material is used for their marketing efforts later on. So they know exactly what they're doing crowdfunding for. And what do we do mostly? Well, I mentioned earlier that we renovated a hotel, and what's the point of that? Because not to promote crowdfunding, but to provide more resources for our creators. We have a lot of online efforts, but we host 2 monthly events of gatherings in the north and in the south. Also, we like to have demos, live demos of our creator content. We've hosted hundreds of workshops with various universities, schools. We even have credit courses in colleges, work with government agencies, incubators. And if you guys have time, you could go check out the space called Venue. And it's quite interesting to see these stories, not just from a crowdfunding perspective, but it should be part of a greater goal. And still, to repeat my point, I believe that crowdfunding is a tool that you use where you see fit. But, and that's the best kind of creators and for us. Over here, I'd like to share a very short video that we have of some of our creators and some of our backers. there's no. So you have restoration projects, magazines, print, the font. Beyond Beauty premiere, death metal concert. Okay. What I hope to accomplish was to really have diversity demoed on the platform. And I hope everyone could maybe take some time, check out the projects on flyingV, find out more about the story behind each project, and don't see it just as a tool to learn about tips and all that, because there's no surefire way. But I always find that it's interesting to look at projects that didn't successfully fund and try to figure out why. And I hope everyone uses the tools to their advantage and move along to what they really want to do. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Cheng from flyingV.